All right, good to see everybody. Feel like it's been a while since I've seen or talked to you guys. Just a couple things on the front. Wanted to wish good luck to Coach Hudson today and the soccer team. Should not be taken for granted. Anytime you advance to the last 16 teams playing in any sport in college athletics, that's a tremendous accomplishment. They've had a great season and definitely pulling for them today. And then, now that it's like permanent, just very excited about Verge being our athletic director. There's 4 people that were part of bringing me here, and he was very central in that. So we've had a good rapport, since I interviewed here, and very happy to work with him, and he'll obviously do a great job. As far as our team, just finishing up our 45-day window of fall practice, fall training. I thought it was productive. I think it's just the way that it goes nowadays. You're turning over more of your roster than as a coach we probably would all like, and especially when you ascend to winning a national championship or a second national championship in 3 years. Really for the 3rd straight year we've moved on just about double-digit guys to professional baseball. I think I did something the other day. I think it's like 32 over the last 3 years have moved on to professional baseball, and now that we're operating under a 34-man roster, that's pretty much an entire team. I do think the returning players that were a part of that team last year and that championship success have done a really good job transitioning from celebrating that and that lifetime accomplishment that they'll be remembered forever for, to working towards what's ahead of us this year, and have done a great job. And there's maybe some more transferable things from last year's championship to this year than there was from 23 to 24. That obviously remains to be seen. But I like how those returning players have done with that. I like the new players that we brought in who get to talk to 2 of the top ones today, with Cooper and Zach. Obviously really excited about them and the contribution I think they'll make to the team this year. And I thought things were mostly positive. The 2 outside games were really good in terms of kind of seeing where we're at. Now it's a really important time of year that maybe gets lost in the baseball calendar. Is I like being around them on a daily basis, but it goes like 49 days, not that I'm counting or anything like that, in between now and when I can actually coach them again. But good faith in the maturity of it. We have guys that were successful here, guys that were successful at other places, and a few of the best freshmen that actually bypassed professional baseball and came to college. So it's a good mixture. And again, as always, we'll transition to taking that talent and making it a team that can help LSU win games. And we have a lot of work in front of us to do that, but full steam ahead.
What impressed you most about Zach this fall that sort of stood out to you?
Well, I was impressed with Zach before he was actually here. Known his family for several years. Recruited his brother at Arizona, who's in the big leagues with the Pirates right now. And so because of that connection from many years ago, always paid attention to him and his career, and probably would have also recruited him there had I stayed at Arizona as opposed to come to LSU. And has had a great 3 years at Grand Canyon. I think the hitting thing to me is, are you a good hitter no matter the situation? And is there nobody on base? Is there one man on base? Are the bases loaded? Can you take the same caliber at bat? And he has plenty of power, and the thing that grabs everybody's attention, but he doesn't have to sell out to hit with power. And I think that allows you to make a really positive contribution to no matter what type of game you play. That type of hitter can be successful in a small ballpark, in a big ballpark, on a day the wind's blowing in, wind's blowing out. Has tremendous strike zone discipline, tremendous contact skills. So you put all that together, you have a really good hitter. And is an exact perfect hitter for us to bring in with the corresponding pieces with this team.
Jay, anything in fall ball that stood out to you? Anything you missed out on that you still would like to see?
No, actually, I did something a little abnormal for me, to be honest with you. I felt like we got to a good place to stop with this team, and we actually could have played this last week, and I decided not to play because I felt like the right amount of hay was in the barn, and not that it would have been counterproductive, but I didn't see the productivity in playing a purple and gold World Series just for what this team needed right now. And that was on both sides of it. We actually have fewer position players than we've had, and so they got more at bats. I think, looking at it, and one of Omar Cerna, freshman catcher, he got like 68 plate appearances, that's a lot, for the fall. So I felt like that group was kind of at a good point to stop and shift what a lot of them needed. Didn't have to do with 2 more scrimmage games. And then the pitching, I felt like we were in a good spot to do what we do, which is deload and then reload into the season. And your pitching staffs, your offensive line, and their health it's going to determine whether you can have a successful season or not. So we stopped a little bit earlier just out of my own kind of intuition. So made the last couple of days a little weird when you get used to like a certain clockwork and calendar for me, but I'm sure the players liked it. And a few of it was like position players where I know what we have. And with some of those guys, and their benefit was strength and conditioning right now. When you talk about a player like Jake Brown that's had as much experience as he is, to get to a spot where he could get 10 more days to kind of sell out to an off-season program was going to benefit him more. And so I felt like we were at a good stopping point. I feel like I have good awareness of the team as we sit today, and a lot of that awareness is we have a lot of work to do when we come back. The NCAA made it a little bit easier with some of the practice changes. Like we'll be able to start practice January 12th, but we're immediately like in the 20-hour weeks. And I think that'll be good on a lot of fronts. But it'll help us, get prepared to win, come the first game of the year.
And Jay, how encouraged are you by Gavin Guidry, and how much work how much more do you need to see maybe to think he could be effective next year?
Yeah, I first off was really happy for him. Him and DJ Primo and Jaden Newt, they're the only 3 players that are still here that have been a part of both championships. And the common thread is they've all had a red shirt on one of those championships. Gavin's just happened last year because of the injury. And I thought he did a terrific job, like staying engaged with the team. And he was in a lot of pain. Like he lost a lot of weight, didn't move really well. Like there was a point where I was like, man, I hope he's going to be all right. And then like he had a good procedure that was well done. And the doctor goes like, hey, you're going to think he's not going to make it back at one point. But then it's going to click and he's going to feel better and he's going to be able to get going. And I got to that point where like, I don't know if this is going to work. And then he made a breakthrough. And then we were a little bit careful from the rebuild from the surgery and the back being okay to get the arm back in shape because he hadn't thrown a competitive pitch since the first weekend of February of last year. So then there was that part of getting the arm rebooted. And then you take him up through the live at-bats before real competition. So his first outing was the first weekend of November, and he had 3 outings and checked out really good. And how he responded physically from sitting down and getting up again, there was no problem with that. And then the next day, any soreness was just like normal pitching soreness, and that got better each week. So it's actually good now. He can go into that reload phase, if you will. We're not going to stop kind of what he's doing, and I feel like he'll be ready to go. And that's a good thing for our pitching staff.
Hey, Coach. William Schmidt had a strong finish to the fall. Just how have you seen him improve over the past few months?
Yeah, he's done great. We had a very specific thing we did with him this summer from a training standpoint. And if you watch any of the scrimmages from a stuff standpoint, you can clearly see the gains and the jumps that were made, with fastball, slider, curveball, changeup. So I think his ability to pitch in all ways, he has overpowering stuff, but to be a pitcher and not a guy with just great stuff that's just hey, I'm coming after you type deal. I think he made some really good strides. I think you were at the last outing that he had was about as dominant as you could get. And the good part is I thought that's what he should do that day, and he did that. I thought the outing at Southeastern was really good. So we kind of used the fall to advance where he needs to go. And what I mean by that is early fall, I wasn't too concerned if we gave up a hit or a homer while we were working on expanding what he needed to do to be the best pitcher that he could be. And then I think the end of the fall, we saw some fruits of that labor, and I think he's in a really, really good spot right now.
Yeah, Jay, you did a lot of shuffling on the infield this fall. Just what did you maybe learn about your options at first, second, and third in particular?
Yeah, I think we're better defensively than I would have any preconceived notion that I had, and I think a lot of that goes to the work that the players put in. Made a really big point of emphasis. Like last year, or we put a diamond on the championship ring because we were the best fielding team in the history of LSU. Like that was like one of the things I think that needed to be acknowledged as one of the best parts of that team's success, and something we wanted to carry over. Well, you're losing three really good defenders. Like Jared became a really good defender. Danny was a great defender. Michael was a great defender. So when you're replacing three of those, we really had to go to work on that. Steven obviously is a really good staple in terms of that. Zach is a very good defensive first baseman. And the rest of the guys have put in a lot of time and handled the ball well. I don't think we made an error in 18 innings at Southeastern, and I think we made one, and it was in the outfield in 21 innings against Samford. As that's 39 innings of baseball with, one non-play. So I feel good about that. I think it's going to be very important for this team's success to handle the ball well in the infield. As I project things going forward, it's always, but I do think that will be important. But, whether it was Tanner Reeves becoming a better defensive infielder, Trent Caraway has really improved, and we've only had him for a semester, but, he plays third base like a shortstop, which is great to see. Seth Darter, Kansas State, Braden Simpson, both those guys, came in better. Jack Rucker, made the plays, when he had a chance to make plays. So it's a big point of emphasis, kind of brought, in, I guess from a football side of it, two analysts that's like a specialty. And I sit with them every day and we talk about what guys need to do to get better. And I think that's really benefited this team.
Hey, Coach, to your right. Second straight year, you take the team to Biloxi. You play this game at Southeastern. This is all kind of new, getting these guys out in front of 3,000-4,000 fans in the fall where most parks are empty across the country. What is this like now to expose them to that and kind of give them a taste of what it's going to be like in the spring?
Yeah, I have a saying like everything's training for something. And, the execution of what's required to have a quality at bat or achieve an out from the mound, like the details of that don't change, but sometimes the players competing in the game can change mentally if you don't have them prepared for that. So I like going over there simply because it gets our team together on a bus in 2 days, and we don't run it like a normal road trip. Like I'm not having meetings and scouting reports. I literally just want them to be together. And like one of the coolest deals of the fall was the night before we played Samford over there was Game 7 of the World Series. And we had in our conference room a big TV, one of the best baseball games we've all ever seen. And then, like, I'm walking in there because we were going to have a meeting, like, 15 minutes after the game ended, but, like, extra innings and all this stuff. And I walk in, and the TV's on, and everybody's watching. They're having this huge poker tournament. I'm going, like, see you guys tomorrow, and walk out was kind of my attitude about it. But I like to get them together. I like to get them in front of fans. One of the unique things about the schedule is the second weekend this year we're playing in Jacksonville at the Pro Park there, kind of similarly designed. So it will give them a repetition and an atmosphere where we're going to play three really good teams in a similar type deal early in the season. So maybe it helps us a little bit about that. And then 21 innings is a lot. It must be a crazy coach to want to set it up like that. But the engagement of the team for 21 innings, like if you can do that in a game that doesn't go on your record or your baseball card, like getting it for 9 innings, 4 or 5 days a week, like they should be able to do that, when it matters the most. So putting all of that together, super important. And I love going over there. Like, it seems like so many LSU fans like that trip or live over there. And it's just been something that's been really, really positive.
You talked a lot last year about Tanner Reeves and just your recruiting trip to, I guess, the middle of nowhere to go get him. Where have you seen him, I guess, mentally take a jump this fall, and then just his confidence level heading in as he battles with a lot of versatile pieces?
Yeah, I think the thing I probably appreciate most about Tanner is I don't think accepting the role is the right words. I think he did a great job of owning and embracing the role that he had on last year's team, which was the best team in college baseball, after being like a junior college legend, where he came from. He broke the junior college World Series record for hits, and he's a really good player, and I was telling you guys that all fall, and he kind of had a sweet spot where he fit in and made a really positive contribution to that team. And as he should, as I want all of our players to want more out of themselves and improvement and development. And it's like, hey, you have to be a good defender to push yourself to where you want to go. I think he's put a lot of work into that. He has to continue to put work into that. I thought the game against Samford and Biloxi, like, he played like an elite second baseman, and I'm always very high on him as a offensive contributor, as we saw last year at a few SEC games where he really played well, that really lifted our team. And I think he can do that. And he's worked really hard in the weight room, as a lot of our guys have with Chris Martin, to elevate his strength. And so, some of those balls in the postseason that he absolutely scorched that got caught at the fence, maybe they go over the fence this year. So you guys can make sure he's doing all of his workouts so that happens. But I think he'll be a big contributor to this year's team.
Just, if you would talk about your catcher position, how much is Omar getting up to speed and pushing Cade and Eddie as well?
Yeah, I think they did a good job. I think, Coach Jordan does a nice job with that group and the defensive part of it. And some of it is you just need time. Like, I actually had a meeting. I'm going through individual meetings right now, and I met with a couple freshmen this morning. He was one of them, and it's like what they do before, there's no way to prepare them for this. Zach playing for 3 years, Cooper playing for 3 years. At least it's kind of close, you know what I mean? But going from Lutheran South Academy to, hey, fall baseball, here, get a hit off Cooper Moore and Kason Evans and Devin Sheeran, there's no way to prepare you for that or to catch those guys all at the same time. I thought he made some really good strides, slowing the game down, receiving well. He's got tremendous arm, like as good as you could ask for. Obviously, he had a couple homers in those ABs. So Omar did a great job. I think he's going to be a great player here for the next 3 years. I thought Cade probably was the best player on the team for the fall, no question about that. Was the quality at bat champion. Almost over 650, which against our pitching staff is a pretty good number. Caught through well, managed the pitching staff, did a great job. And then thought Eddie had some good shots this fall too. I think he had the game-winning hit in the last fall game, and does a good job as a receiver. And I think we got a good unit right there.
With Virg Osbury in place as the new AD, what have your conversations sort of been like with him, and have you talked about any potential changes with the way baseball's handled financially or otherwise moving forward with the new AD?
Yeah, kind of like I said, he and I have had a great relationship from day one. Full transparency, when I interviewed, I felt like he was probably the first person that was like, I'm on board with this guy. And I could sense it, and so we've had a great, whatever you want to call it, working relationship, friendship, support from day one. I have 2 pictures after winning national championships with, Virg standing right next to me. And, I have a lot of confidence in him. We've had conversations about, and right away, and I respected that, from, hey, he's got a lot on his plate right now, and he's made us a priority, and he knows how much baseball is a priority here. So I have a lot of faith that we can improve in the ways that we need to improve, as a program, and we do. And I'm excited to do that with him.
Coach, any injuries to report after fall?
Yeah, no, I think we've had a lot of the small stuff that, goes along with this sort of thing. We stopped a couple pitchers a little earlier, just not to chance anything, and got those guys the treatment, and they're back throwing. Some, nicks from multiple position players that was part of my decision to just like, hey, we're in a good spot, and get them into the weight room. Nothing that's going to hold anybody out from anything from this point forward.
Cool, thank you. And then last year you bring in Anthony Ianson. He ends up being your Saturday starter. You bring in Cooper Moore. Just what do you think he can bring to the staff?
Yeah, I think I'm really proud of how we've recruited pitching since I've been here. And, it's not my forte from a teaching or development standpoint, but I feel like I know what's needed to win and can see that. And there's multiple layers to that, and I feel like we've gotten that. Everybody will easily point to Paul. He's the best pitcher on the planet. He advanced himself while he's here. But then after that, the 2 years after that, we've led the country in strikeouts. And you look at Gage Jump, you look at Luke Holman, you look at Anthony, you look at Zach Cowan. There's some, real similarities with their ability to throw strikes, to throw whatever pitch they want whenever they want, with their competitive nature and makeup. And I think Cooper brings all of those things and more in a full season of experience at a Power 5 conference. And I think he's improved since he's been here. And I believe he would tell you that. Don't give away any secrets when they ask you about it, okay? Just before we do that. But, yeah, he's a winner. And we're a much better program because Cooper's going to be on our team this year.
A little bit more on the pitching front. What have you seen? What kind of depth have you seen from the pitching staff, and how have you seen the transfers and all the new guys kind of work in and transition?
Depth, pitching staff, always a priority. I had a friend of mine who was in the SEC when I came into the SEC as an assistant coach. He's not coaching anywhere in the SEC. And we just were casually talking right after I was hired, and he's just like, whenever you think you have enough pitching, sign another pitcher. And it was a very small, simple thought, but I thought there was a lot of wisdom in it, and I haven't say I've gone back to that, but I think our depth has been pretty awesome. I think if you look at last year's team, there's probably 13 or 14 pitchers that, regardless of how many innings they pitched, actually had pretty good statistics and made some contribution. I think there's some similarities into that. I have spent personally a lot of time the last 2 weeks about structuring the staff in a way that's going to be best for the players' individual development, and then putting the deal together to get 27 outs and win a game, win a series, sweep a series, have a great week, over 4 or 5 games. And we have some figuring out to do, but I feel like we have a really good plan, and you can have a good plan when you feel like you have good pitchers. I think Southeastern Louisiana, this could be a really good team. They probably are the favorite or the number 2 team in that league going into the season, and rightfully so. It's a really good team, and I think we only gave up runs in 2 of the 18 innings and had 29 or 30 strikeouts, and I thought that was indicative of the depth. And you're taking Zach Cowan, maybe the most valuable pitcher on the team last year, other than Cade or Anthony. We didn't even use him because we didn't need to see him in that environment. So I think there's some strong depth. I like the different types of pitchers that we have. I think there's some ability to match up, ability to get length out of some starters, some guys that could kind of split either way, and kind of some one-shot seals that can blow your doors off, for 3 outs. So I'm excited about putting that all together.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, good to see you guys.